Coming up on First at 4, a former Somerset Police Department captain is indicted on nearly 24 charges. And conference tournament week has arrived for the Kentucky Wildcats. We'll have a report from Nashville coming up.
And showers back in the region as we head through the rest of the week. The details next as Mountain News First at 4 starts right now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, a retired Southern Kentucky police captain has been indicted on multiple charges. Former Captain Mike Carell is facing a multiple count indictment, including burglary, theft, and drug-related charges. WYMT's Phil Pendleton is in Pulaski County with more.
Captain Mike Carell retired last November, and then in January, the Somerset police chief contacted Kentucky State Police to start an investigation. The grand jury returned a 9-count indictment yesterday. The allegations are that Carell stole items from the police evidence room at the Energy Center, which houses both the police department and City Hall. That happened from 2022 to January of this year. The retired Carell is accused of burglary first and third, theft by unlawful taking, abuse of public trust, drug trafficking, receiving stolen property in the form of a firearm, and official misconduct. He's also charged with unauthorized access to a computer.
On a professional level, doing the right thing is not always easy, but it is the right thing to do. So we are doing our job transparently and fully and assisting the state police with the investigation. On a personal level, it is difficult working with someone for many years and then discovering something like this.
We're going to gather the evidence and we're going to address these charges. Mike will have his day in court. One thing about Mike as a police officer, he treated everyone he came in contact with fairly, and they got their day in court. Mike's going to have his day in court.
Carell was arrested and lodged briefly in the Pulaski County Detention Center, but I am told that he has already made bond. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Phil, thank you. Carell has worked in law enforcement for around 20 years, working for the Stanford and Somerset police departments.
Well, we've seen a little more sunshine out there today. That's helped boosting those temperatures, and it's actually been a pretty nice Thursday throughout the region. The view from our studios here in Hazard, yes, we have some of that filtered sunshine. You see the high clouds and mid to high clouds there in the distance, but the sun is shining. Look from UVA-wise. Sunset watch out there. Look at that. We got some pretty high clouds there, and as the sun sets through them, we're in pretty good shape later tonight. We've gotten mild into the upper 50s, low 60s across the Big Sandy. Head out to the west, and things are looking pretty nice. Middle and upper 60s as you head into much of the Cumberland Valley, so looking pretty nice. As we head through the next 12 hours, though, we will welcome showers back to the region as those temperatures fall through the 50s during the evening hours. Details, though, on when a few more of those showers could work in, work out, and work back in again in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Governor Beshear and education leaders were at the state capitol this morning for an education rally. They want more focus placed on higher education and building a stronger Kentucky. Aaron Thompson is president of the Council on Post-Secondary Education. He says a college degree is more than what you learn in the classroom. It's about engaging in your community.
It's what I believe more than anything else. When I was in the classroom and working with students outside the classroom, was that I was preparing leaders.
Thompson says Kentuckians from all backgrounds need to know that higher education matters. U.S. Senate Republican leader and Kentucky's senior senator Mitch McConnell is in the hospital after falling at a hotel in Washington yesterday. McConnell was attending a private dinner at the Waldorf Astoria when he tripped. He was admitted to the hospital for treatment. A spokesperson says today he suffered a concussion and could be in the hospital for a few days. Leaders on both sides of the aisle sent the 81-year-old well wishes.
On behalf of House Democrats, our thoughts and prayers and best wishes to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. We are praying for a swift and a full and a speedy recovery, and we stand with him and his family in that regard.
This is not the first time McConnell has had an incident like this. In 2019, he tripped and fell at his home in Louisville, where he fractured his shoulder. We'll have more about his condition coming up later tonight. We are just a day closer to Kentucky playing in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament in Nashville, and tonight we'll find out who the Cats will face. This time last year, the Wildcats were banged up a little bit. So what about now? Brian Milam joins us from Nashville. Brian.
Last year, I'm not really sure we knew the extent of just how bad the Wildcats were hurt as they entered March Madness. Not making any excuses. When they lost to St. Peter's, the Peacocks outplayed Kentucky in every phase of the game, but injuries do have a role to play. Now, this season, the Cats have seen Jacob Toppin sit out. Oscar Shibwe was not 100% until midway through the season. C.J. Frederick with the ribs. Most recently, Cason Wallace missing the Arkansas game. Maybe, now this is just a maybe, that's why UK has been so discombobulated at times and had some mind-numbing losses this year.
The injury, he got us a little bit this year too, like last year. But this year, I know guys been fighting for their life because for the fans, for this team, me, including me myself, because I had a surgery like at the beginning of the season, taking me a long time to come back, but I was just fighting for my team. So for us, we believe we're going to be ready. The SEC is just to prepare us for the big tournament.
Now, Cason Wallace should be ready for the SEC tournament and NCAA tournament. You'll remember he got hurt in the Vandy game, and if Kentucky is to make any kind of run in March Madness, they will have to have number 22 running the point. In Nashville, I'm Brian Milam, WYMT Mountain News.
Brian, thank you. We'll have more from Nashville coming up at 5:30 and 6 in sports. And in our next half hour, the latest from the girls' Sweet 16 in Lexington. March Madness is certainly here. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wants President Biden to grant an exemption to tennis star Novak Djokovic to enter the U.S. to play in the Miami Open later this month. International travelers to the U.S. must be vaccinated against COVID-19, and Djokovic has not received the vaccine. DeSantis, a potential 2024 GOP presidential contender, wrote a letter to the president on Tuesday. He called the denial of Djokovic's application to enter the U.S., quote, unfair, unscientific, and unacceptable. A former NBA star is in custody in connection to a drive-by shooting at a mall in Washington state. Authorities say Sean Kemp was arrested as part of their investigation into the reported shooting yesterday. Officers were called to the Tacoma Mall after shots were fired between two groups in two separate vehicles. Police say one of the drivers fired several rounds at the passengers in the other vehicle. No injuries were reported, and Kemp was arrested at the scene. Kemp is a six-time NBA All-Star who played 14 seasons in the league, 8 of them with the Seattle Supersonics. No word on when he's expected to appear in court. Coming up on First at 4, roughly 17 million people in Central and Northern California are under flood watches ahead of a massive storm system.
Plus, showers scoot back into the region as cool air looks to stay a bit. That breakdown is ahead.